Agenda review session, our public hearing on the TR bar will take place after the public comment. We have ordinances on second reading. Number one, an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limit to establish a cap bank. Number two, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the City of New Brunswick, Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 10, 12, Traffic Control Regulations, Schedule 22, Traffic Control Signals, amend French Street and Joyce Gilmer Avenue Traffic Signal Plan, April 25th, 2016, and timing schedule, June 15, 2016. Number three, an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of abandoned properties by exercise of the power of eminent domain. We have no reading, it's on first reading. It's on first reading. We have resolutions 1 to 33. Number one, approve agenda amendments. Two, approve payroll 4/13/19 and 4/26/19. Three, authorize refund to redeem tax sale certificates. Four, approve request for use of city property requested by Delta Gamma Fraternity, Rutgers University, Bugalo Park, Eastern Avenue 1, for the annual Anchor Games to raise money for service for site, Saturday, May 4th, 2019, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Five, approve request for use of city property requested by McKinley Community School and the Brunswick Board of Education for Alice Jennings Archibald Park, Unified Games Day, Friday, May 3rd, 2019, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Six, approve request for use of city property requested by Evelyn Mitchell, Memorial Stadium for the track, for a fundraiser walk to the community and all New Brunswick schools to raise awareness for diseases such as lupus, leukemia, and lymphoma and antibody syndrome. Saturday, May 18, 2019, rain date Saturday, June 1st, 2019, time 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Number seven, approve request for street closing requested by NYS Incorporated, trading as Olive Branch, for Sakar Street between Bartlett and Morrell Streets, for ovarian cancer fundraiser for the Janice Lopez Ovarian Cancer Foundation, Saturday, June 1st, 2019, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., police extra duty. Number eight, approve request for use of city property requested by GNBA Public Information for War Monument Park, distribute information and offer help to addicts in the community, Saturday, June 1st, 2019, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Number nine, approve request for use of city property requested by Every Town for Gun Safety Support Fund, also known as Mom's Demand Action, for Monument Square Park, for community building interfaith events to highlight gun violence awareness, Wear Orange Weekend, and honor survivors of gun violence, Sunday, June 9th, 2019. The rain date is Sunday, June 23rd, 2019, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Number 10, approve request for use of city property requested by the New Brunswick Middle School and Brunswick Board of Education for Memorial Stadium the football field for 8th grade moving up ceremony, Tuesday, June 25th, 2019, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Number 11, approve request for use of the city property requested by Umbrella, formerly Foster and Adoptive Family Services, connecting families in Middlesex County, Bugalo Park and Pavilion, for a picnic to celebrate foster and adoptive families in Middlesex County, Sunday, July 14, 2019, 12 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Number 12, approve request for use of city property requested by Zandria Solomon for Boyd Park for a walk against childhood sexual abuse and community event, Saturday, July 20, 2019, the rain date Saturday, July 27, 2019, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. 13, approve amendment of resolution R031915, reason addition of Tavern on George as a vendor to the event. Approve request for use of street property and street closing. Again, requested by New Brunswick Cultural Center and New Brunswick Jazz Project for the 7th Annual Central Jersey Jazz Festival, Monument Square Park. George Street between Liberty Street and Byard Street, Saturday, September 14, 2019, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Street closure would be 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Police extra duty. 14, advising consent to Senior Citizen Advisory Council Board appointment, Margarita A. Seville, expiring December 31st, 2020. Number 15, approve request for use of city property requested by the New Brunswick Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Bugalo Park and Pavilion and Track, Alumni 5K Run and 1 mile walk, Saturday, September 14, 2019, 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. 16, approve appointment of counsel, John C. Mace, Esquire of Mace and Cresty, PC, representation of Police Officer Justin Mexia in the matter of Michael Young versus the City of New Brunswick at all amount to exceed $10,000. 17, approve amendment of resolution R010165-4. The reason, extend the closure of Church Street, temporary closing of Church Street from Kirkpatrick Street to Spring Street and a section of Spring Street bounded by Albany Street and Church Street, requested by the Director of Engineering and Public Works. Number 18, New Brunswick City Market 2019 budget. Introduction is Wednesday, May 1st, 2019. Public hearing Wednesday, June 5th, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. 19, approve request for use of the city property and sidewalks requested by Lazos America Unida. 3 events. 1, a community gathering to celebrate Cinco de Mayo Festival and Parade using the sidewalks only from New Brunswick Public Library to Joyce Gilmore Park. Location Joyce Gilmore Park, Saturday, May 4th, 2019. The rain date is Sunday, May 5th, 2019, 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. 2, a community gathering to celebrate festival and parade using the sidewalks only from War Monument to Boyd Park. Location is Boyd Park, Sunday, August 4th, 2019, 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. And the third one, community gathering to celebrate our Roots Festival, Joyce Gilmore Park, Saturday, September 14th, 2019, 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. Police extra duty for all 3 events. 20, approve amendment of resolution R041912. Reason, add date in July, Sunday, July 14th, 2019. Approve request for use of the city property requested by Elijah Promise, Joyce Gilmore Park, Mercado Esperanza Market, Sunday, July 14th, 2019, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. 21, approve request for use of the city property requested by Lazos America Unity. Location, Bugler Park and Pavilion, a community gathering to celebrate the first anniversary of the Chaotic Lowrider Club, Sunday, July 21st, 2019, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Police extra duty. 22, authorized purchase by Police Department under State Contract A 83921/T-010109, radio communication equipment and accessories for MicroStrategies Incorporated for maintenance agreement, April 1st, 2019 to March 31st, 2020, not to exceed $11,720, non-pro-tunc. 23, approve amendment of resolution R031516, for reason to pay final invoices in the amount of $129.89. The Division of Construction Code with Ricoh USA Incorporated, not to exceed $129.89. Approval of this amendment will not constitute an increase of 20% or more of the original contract. 24, approve award of contract with Elijah's Promise Incorporated for food preparation services for the New Brunswick Senior Citizen Service Center. The 6-month period commencing April 18, 2019 and ending October 17, 2019, and thereafter on a month-to-month basis should the city so desire, not to exceed $30,742.60, non-pro-tunc. 25, approve emergency temporary appropriations for 2019. 26, approve rejection of bids and authorization to rebid for Remsen Avenue Fire Museum fit-out, specification number 929-19. 27, approve amendment of resolution R121817, change order number 3 with World Corporation Incorporated, doing business as World Construction Incorporated, for the Senior Citizen Center exterior improvement, specification number 909-17. The amount of $6,840.50. Approval of this change order will not constitute an increase of 20% or more of the amount of the original contract. 28, approve award of contract with Absolute Fire Protection Company for fire engine pump repair services. 12-month period commencing May 2nd, 2019 and ending May 1st, 2020. Specification number 747-19P, not to exceed $20,000. 29, approve relaxation of the city noise ordinance and road closure requested by Sky High Erectors and Equipment Incorporated. Reason, place a crane on George Street and road closure of George Street between New Street and Livingston Avenue for work at the Elders Hotel. Date is Saturday, June 1st, 2019. Alternate date Saturday, June 15th and June 29th, 2019, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. The 30, approve amendment of resolution R081849. The reason, police extra duty services in the amount of $15,000 with A-Tech Concrete Company for Welch Street Park. Specification number 924-18R, not to exceed $15,000. 31, approve amendment of resolution R121853. The reason to authorize agreement with Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, and DevCo as sub-guarantees under the Innovation Challenge Grant Agreement. 32, authorize tax collector to issue duplicate tax sale certificate number 14-0630 in the name of Honest Akel against block 596.03. Lot 001.06, qualifier C0433, 433 Oedipus Road. 33, authorized tax collector to issue duplicate tax sale certificate number 14-0605 in the name of Honest Akel against block 554, lot 010, 11 Henry Street. Items for discussion by the council, public comment, and then we'll have the bar. All right. Call to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Egan. Councilmember Escobar.
Here.
Councilmember Fleming.
Here.
Council Vice President Socorro Ludwig. Here. Council President Anderson.
Here. Please be advised that the notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act are complied with and satisfied in the annual notice, which gave sufficient notice of the time and place and conduct of all public meetings of the municipal council of the city of New Brunswick, and has been filed with the city clerk, has been placed on an appropriate bulletin board in the lobby of City Hall, New Brunswick, New Jersey, and has been transmitted to the official newspaper for the city of New Brunswick, namely the Home News Tribune. You're able to please stand with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence, please, for our armed forces here and abroad, especially those who have given their lives, and also those who have come back without limbs, arms, and in some way hurt. Thank you.
Motion to accept the minutes,
Second. Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Council Vice President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Anderson.
Yes. A report of correspondence by the city clerk.
Item 1, a correspondence letter from Kleinfelder to amend and supplement the response action outcomes dated November 15, 2017 in regards to 1200 Somerset Street. Item 2, a letter from Saxum Real Estate in regards to an address change. Item 3, a letter from the NJDOT in regards to a public information center being held on Tuesday, May 7th, 2019 at City Hall Council Chambers from 6 to 8 p.m. Item 4, a letter from the Township of Franklin in regards to amending ordinance numbers 4271-19. The correspondence will be forwarded to the appropriate departments for further action.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
As mentioned, the public hearing will take place after the public comments. Ordinance is on second reading. Number 1, in order to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and establish a cap bank. If anyone from the audience has anything to say about that, please come to the microphone. Seeing none.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Council Vice President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Anderson.
Yes. Number 2, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinance of the City of New Brunswick, Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 1012, Traffic Control Regulations, Schedule 22, Traffic Control Signals, amend Front Street and Joyce Comer Avenue, Traffic Signal Plan, April 25th, 2016, and timing schedule June 15th, 2016. If anybody from the audience, please give your name and address. You have up to 5 minutes, one time.
Yes, Daniel Moore, 333 Somerset Street. Can you give me a little information about what this is going to be?
Sure, Mr. Valenti.
Yes, as a function of the Tower East project at Robert Wood Johnson Hospital, they replaced the traffic signal at Joyce Kilmer and French Street. We had previously received a certification from their engineer which had a typo on the date. All we're doing is correcting the typo from the certification letter, which indicates when the drawings were published and when the signal was actually installed. So the signal's already done, it's just a matter of follow-up certification.
Okay, so this has nothing to do with where we were talking about with the city and the county getting together to replace the lights on French Street or on Joyce Comer with the timing. This is something different?
Yes.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay.
Anyone else?
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Council Vice President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Anderson.
Yes. Number 3, an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of abandoned properties by exercise of the power of eminent domain. Anyone from the public?
Good evening, members of the council. Charles Prattville, New Brunswick Today. When was the last time the city used its eminent domain power?
I can't specifically say I have been here a little while, but I
can't remember the specific date. This is specifically with respect to the Abandoned Property Act, and the city's moved in that direction to take care of abandoned properties, which are throughout the city of Brunswick.
It's been some time, right?
Like I said, Mr. Travel, I don't recall.
Okay. How many properties is it?
The other 9, right?
9 on the list, correct.
9. And for the record, could I get those properties, could you say them out loud if you have it?
Yeah. Okay. It's not the
They're
reason.
attached to the ordinance that was published.
It's that's out there.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, they're right here. Okay.
You're right there.
Okay.
My apologies. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name is Jim Scott. I live in New Brunswick, born and raised in New Brunswick. November 27, 1932. So I've been around for a little while. And I have a couple of questions. First of all, I want to comment on this ordinance. I think it's a good idea. I think it's long in coming, but I think there's some questions. I have some questions anyway. And the abandoned housing list, is that available to the public?
Yes, sir. It should be.
Where,
Maybe in the long sheets, they're already out there.
Actually, it's been published before, it's probably on our website, but I know that it is certainly available. The abandoned, it's on the bulletin board downstairs as well. The abandoned property list is much more extensive than this particular list here, but these are the properties here that we have selected for scattered spotlight potential condemnation.
what's the criteria to select these specific properties from the abandoned property list?
Well, the criteria is very detailed and specific under the statute and under our ordinance, which adopts the state statute. Such things as disrepair, how long it's been in disrepair, whether or not there's been taxes paid on the property, whether there's tax liens. I couldn't tell you specifically off the top of my head which criteria these particular properties fit. There also has to be a certification, which has been done in this case by the construction official as to the properties being in need of rehabilitation. And that certification obviously is part and parcel of them getting on this particular list.
Well, one of the reasons why I asked that question is that I live next to a property at 377 Lee Avenue. The property is boarded up. It's been boarded up, board's been taken down and reboarded. I think there's some sort of confusion with the bank and the city on where this property is. But I looked at a lot of properties that are on this list, and some of them, yeah, need to be redeveloped. This property at 377 is in pretty good shape. I mean, I looked at it, I got some pictures of it when the boards were off. So that's why I asked you what the criteria was for selecting properties off of that list to set them up for your eminent domain. And one of the things that we're concerned about on our block is that if that property is being rehabbed as a residential unit, that's fine. We know that that's needed. But if it's multifamily or some other use, we got problems with that. Our neighborhood is a nice, quiet neighborhood, taxpayers, and we want to keep it that way. So one of the things I know in the paper it said it was, once these properties are acquired by eminent domain, you know, that sort of scares me, because normally when you talk about eminent domain, you talk about a public use. And when I start thinking about a public use, I don't know what the plans are. I would recommend that the people in the area, within, just like they do when the planning board has a 200 feet radius, that they be notified, you know, by mail or directly, getting them to read the ordinance 55, this, that, and the other. That doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people because they don't have the wherewithal to decipher what that means. So one of my recommendations would be to this board is to make sure that you contact folks in the area, let them know what let them know what the development's going to be on those properties that they're acquiring, and even make them part of it. That's all I have right now.
Thank you.
One more question. I know it says that once the properties are acquired, that they have created a redevelopment plan, rehab and redevelopment plan. Has any discussions been made with any developers or anything with these houses? These abandoned properties?
There hasn't been a redevelopment plan done with respect to these specific properties. That would be the next step in the process if the city were to acquire them by condemnation. But I just want to respond to Mr. Scott's question. If the property had a pre-existing use as a single-family house, that's what the zoning is, it's a pre-existing non-conforming use. The city is not looking to change the use of these particular properties from what they were at. And as Mr. Scott indicates, if there were to be a change, that would be a change of use, something that would be inconsistent with the zone in that particular area, they would have to come before the zoning board of adjustment for that approval, which requires notification. But there is no intention by the city to change the use of any of these properties. We're just trying to get them rehabilitated so they become residential units once again, a viable entity, a property in the neighborhood, so it's not an eyesore for neighbors like yourself. So,
Well, that's good news, and it's good to hear. The only other suggestion I had is when the development and site plan, not the site plan, the rehab is selected, or the developer, that the people in the area, at least within the 200 feet area, be included or notified when the meeting so they can offer their suggestions and recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. On the ordinance of eminent domain?
Well,
That's all we're talking about right now. Otherwise, you have to wait till the public comment. Okay?
I shall wait.
Thank you. Anybody else on the ordinance number 3? Seeing none?
Move the ordinance?
Second.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar. Yes. Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Council Vice President Socorro Ludwig. Yes. Council President Anderson.
Yes. We have no readings for first reading, rather. We have resolutions 1 to 33. Anyone have any comments or questions about 1 to 33? You would come up to the microphone once again.
Good evening, once again, Charles Prattville, New Brunswick, today. I want to ask about item on page 4, number 916, the counsel for this litigation against the city. Can I get an update on this matter? Is this a federal court matter?
no, this is a state court matter. It's been going on since 2017, a lawsuit involved a fight outside what used to be the old day. People were stabbed, people were arrested, and this gentleman is apparently suing the city and New Brunswick police officers, among other people, as a result of the incident.
Okay. And how many other attorneys are there on this case?
I don't know off the top of my head, Mr. President.
This is just for one officer, right? There's other named
On
officers.
the punitive damage count against one officer who was, I understand, newly added to the case.
Okay. Thank you. And I see $10,000, so you expected this money.
And that's a standard amount that we put not to exceed.
Okay.
may not receive that in May. If it does, we have to come back with council resolution to authorize it.
Are there other individuals that work for the city that are named besides the sworn officers, or like the director or the mayor?
Off the top of my head, I can't tell you exactly, but I don't think so. I think it's just a few officers.
Okay. 926 is the rejection of bids. Can I just understand why and you know, when we can expect to finally get the findings in?
Yes, we put out the applications for bid, had 5 respondents pick up the bids, only 1 responded with a bid. The amount of the bid was 2.5 times the budget. So we had to reject it. We were working with the design architect to understand what's driving the cost, and we're going to anticipate to put it out to rebid sometime soon.
May I ask what the budget is?
I believe the budget is $550,000.
So the only bid that came in was more than twice that.
Correct. I think it was 1.425 million, I believe.
Okay. And any idea on timeline on when it might be rebid?
Not at this time. I don't want to commit to a time frame just yet. We have, we may have to do some significant design changes in order to fit the budget.
Thank you. Last one is 931, agreements with Rutgers, Devco, Innovation Challenge Grant Agreement. Can somebody speak a little bit about what this is all in regards to?
It's for the current mall area, and I believe we made.
Well, I can tell you the reason we're doing the authorization to the resolution is because Devco and Rutgers are partners with us on this particular grant. They're going to assist us with the study, the particulars of which I believe we talked about in December when the first resolution was adopted. I don't know if Mr. Dominguez has a little overview of what it involves, but it's a $100,000 grant that is being provided to us by the EDA.
So last year, the city entered into, I believe, technically a contract with EDA where they will be providing us with $100,000 split between 2 entities, one to Devco, where they will be subcontracting out for the design of a modular lab system so that it is easier for places to install labs in retrofits for old warehouses or to just create brand new labs, state-of-the-art downtown or wherever they intend to use these new labs. Additionally, the other partner is Rutgers through Rutgers Q's. Off the top of my head, I don't remember what the initials stand for, but it's CUES. I just want to say it's Center for Urban something something. And we'll be working with them and possibly some subcontractors there who will be working on a smart city, smart transportation system. They may be running some dry run tests in New Brunswick. The idea, their hope is to have that springboard and to have New Brunswick as sort of a test bed for smart transportation, integration with all the traffic lights, so that the whole city is sort of moving integratedly. So if this traffic light on George Street would somehow speed up traffic on Route 18 or vice versa, that they may just be able to talk via computer instantly and accommodate that. And both Devco and Rutgers are either in funds or in kind matching 20 grand each to the project. There's no cost to the city. This is all, we're just sort of administering it.
Thank you for the thorough answers. I'd like to help with the transportation stuff.
Sure. Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none?
Move the resolution.
Second.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar. Yes. Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Council Vice President Sikora Ludwig. Yes. Council President Anderson.
Yes. We have items for discussion. Anybody on the council who could say anything? No? We have public comment. Anyone from the public who wishes to comment, please come up to the microphone now.
Yes, sir.
And give your name and
On that
address.
last thing or on anything?
This is on anything.
Yep.
Go ahead, Charlie.
No, I insist.
I was here here 2 weeks ago. My name is Jeffrey Horowitz. I live on 16 Laurel Place. It's just, I had spoken to someone from the city earlier today, but again, I still, it's 2 weeks later, and I had paid for my handicap parking spot now. It's about 7 weeks ago. And I still, again, this is 2 weeks later, and I had to take a cab here and again a cab home because I'll have nowhere to park when I get home. And I don't live in it, it's not everywhere, it's like a really nice neighborhood. But I also, in these conversations, I have a bunch of photographs of people are like running businesses out of residential homes on my street, and there's actually a bunch of like trucks with trailers and all kinds of stuff beginning way early in the morning. And I mean, I don't know if this is the forum or if that's for tomorrow afternoon. I just don't know exactly, you know, which forum to bring it up in, but that's one issue. And actually, I had physical therapy today, and it arose from the last time I was there. Came a complaint from everybody there with the parking authority. Was even myself. It took me an hour and a half to get out of the parking lot the other day because they had a glitch in the computer. I was in above Superfresh, and the same thing when my physical therapist, it took her about the same amount of time just to get out of the parking lot, and another person there was trying to get in, and it was backed up all the way to Livingston Avenue because they had to get instead of just, I mean, I can barely walk, but I was ready to get out and just tear the gates down, and you know, at a certain point you should just let it, you know, the cattle free, and it was crazy. You know, I didn't even know what to do. I was ready to park my car in the first available spot and just take a cab home from there and come back and get my car later, but I just didn't even know what to do. But there was just one little glitch. They said it was a second and a half, and it cost me at least an hour and a half, as well as the two other people that I knew. So,
I don't know about the hour and a half. I was in that line or whatever. I didn't take it that long. I talked to the people in the parking authority. There was a glitch, whatever, downstairs parking thing. So there had to be a guy right there. He had a credit card. He had to swipe it and everything. So it did take a little extra time. But I'm told that the parking authority was on it and took care of it.
okay. I mean, I was just, someone said, hey, as long as you're going there, please bring it up. I said, sure, because I spoke to somebody from the city today, and I'm hoping at any rate tomorrow there's a meeting at 1:30 for, I guess it's traffic or parking. And so I'll be there for these other matters, but as long as I was coming here, you know,
Sure.
everyone's got, I mean, except apparently myself has kids, and she was just complaining that it took her forever.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That's enough of my time. Thank you for yours.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Charles Crackle, New Brunswick today. Ready to call for the impeachment of the president? No? Okay. I do think, and I hope that this will be discussed, a man lost his life on Livingston Avenue in another fatal pedestrian struck situation. Mr. Anthony Cruz Medina, he was just 22 years old. And I want to ask what is going on with Livingston Avenue, and you know, what are we going to do to stop this?
Well, my understanding is Livingston Avenue has been under discussion as for a long time, and the county, because it's a county road, as you know. So they're working on that. I don't know the specifics. I don't know if it's the road, the person, or who has responsibility, you know, for what happened at that specific day or something like that.
Well, the police believe that there was a driver that hit it. But I also know that Livingston is one of the most dangerous roads for pedestrians. And it's nice that it's under discussion, but what are we going to do? What action are we going to do, and when can we expect it to be done?
I think we have, you know, the diet for Livingston Avenue going on, and Mr. Valenti.
I can be very specific. The project actually is 100% design. The funding source is the federal government, so it adds 2 tiers of bureaucracy to get the approvals. The design documents were done last year. The state was probably 3 or 4 months behind in what they call their environmental assessment. Once that gets approved, then it goes to the federal government for final authorization. So I know the county is prepared to answer more specifics as well, but we're still hopeful the project will begin sometime this summer.
Thank you for answering my question, and I do want to thank the council for, allowing the public to ask questions and actually answer those questions. I'm disappointed that the New Brunswick Parking Authority Board has apparently, out of the blue, changed their policy to get this. We don't answer questions from the public at our public meetings. And I think that's a bad policy. That's especially when we see that their problems are so severe that they're spilling over into this room, and that people are coming here repeatedly with problems about the parking authority, and that they won't take the time to answer questions that are brought at their meetings. That's a disgrace. That's out of control. That's a reason to abolish this agency. And first I heard of these glitches in the parking decks, but that's unacceptable. I've raised the issue of people taking their lives, leaping off of the decks and nothing being done in response to the latest one. And I also, I just don't think that they understand they're supposed to serve the public. And so, for the record, is there anybody from the parking authority here tonight?
I don't know.
Okay. Wouldn't it make sense for the parking authority to send someone here?
No.
Why not?
They're a separate entity, they have their own meetings. You should be going to their meetings, asking or telling or whatever you want to do.
I should be going and asking questions, they should be answering.
They choose to do, that's what they're doing. I mean, that's their choice. We don't have that kind of control over the parking authority.
But you created them. The city council created the parking authority, and you served on their board. You know these people. And I think you know that they're better people than that, and I hope you'll talk to them and tell them that maybe they should rethink that policy, that their new attorney, whose law partners with the Speaker of the State Assembly, is implementing, as a complete assault on the public. And I think that they work for us, and we deserve better, and they should answer people's questions when they take time out of their day to attend. Can anybody here tell me about the solar panel scheme that the parking authority and the city are involved in, and the school board?
I don't know about a scheme, but I'm not sure about any.
No scheme, we entered into a contract probably in 1999, or in the 90s, where the city, the parking authority, the Board of Education entered into a contract with a solar company to install solar panels throughout the city on those various entities' properties. Purchase power agreement is basically what it's called. Thank you, Mr. Egan, he's got the electrical background, I don't. And the contract provides for the installation of these solar panels and utilization of them through the contract.
Okay. And it's a contract between those three entities, but they don't do it themselves. They have a private entity that does it, right? NBS Energy Partners?
Yeah, the city's not putting up the solar panels.
Right. And so just for everyone's edification, in case you're not aware, last night's Board of Education meeting, this came up because they have hired a special counsel to represent them, and because they feel that they're in a dispute with the contractor. They say they were supposed to finish the project by December 2017, and we're now here in 2019 and it wasn't done. The quote from Mr. Hendricks, "There's problems. We had to get him on immediately," referring to hiring Mr. Hoffman, who, by the way, also works for the parking authority too, so nothing to see here. And at any rate, they believe that they are not delivering on the job. They just issued a stop work order, and Mr. Hendricks seems to think I think it will be a lawsuit. So this solar panel thing is going to end up in litigation, and I just wanted to ask if anybody can comment on these failures or what's going on here.
I mean, if it's not happening, then obviously we got to hold them accountable.
And if it were to be pending litigation, we wouldn't be able to comment, wouldn't be appropriate. And if litigation is where it's going, it's not appropriate for us to comment. We need an interim either, Mr. Credible, so no, I'm sorry.
Well, in summation, I think we should abolish the parking authority and impeach the president. It's a criminal.
Anyone else with a public comment?
Hi, yes, Danielle 1333 Somerset Street. You know, sometimes I've been looking at a few of the videos, looking back on things, and then I see how some of you counselors and some of the workers, how when you see someone come up here and talk about something, how you really just start shaking your head like it's not a meaning of things. But one thing I speak upon for what I see, and I will get to that as far as Livingston Avenue, but I'd like to speak on, I'm asking the city, please, to put a sign, Joyce Comer Avenue by the cemetery. Normally you don't do it for city, but due to where you have an extremely amount of deer jumping out, and I've been seeing too many close calls, so like I said, can you please put a sign there by the cemetery on Joyce Comer Avenue between Reed and Elizabeth Street? Then once again, I'm asking for the orange sticks to be placed on the corner of Somerset and Alexandra Street due to where no parking, due to where I admit that what I mentioned a month ago, 2 people in the same exact spots got hit by a car. So I hope to see that soon before someone else does get, or God forbid, hurt again there. I did present you with the pictures to show you why, due to where a car is parked there and how you're short, it creates a blind zone when someone's in the walkway. So I hope you will take care of that immediately. We do not need anyone to get hurt there again. Then also, at this same time last year, I asked about the flashing lights on Livingston Avenue for middle school. Here we are again. Last year you said it was approved and it would go on this year's budget. Will you please tell me when it will be done for middle school?
It's in the 2019 capital budget. Once that gets approved by the state and have the hearings held, and then the funds become real and we can start the project.
Well, that's what you said last year.
Last year I said it would be in 2019's capital budget. I did not say it would be in 2018's capital budget.
Okay, I will relook into that then. Now, also, if it's possible for Captain Miller, due to where, if I can, I did talk to Lieutenant Trigg also today, can I please have the records for Route 27 and Sanford Street regards to the past 18 months of how many accidents you have had right there on that corner, please? Is it possible?
I don't have it on top of my head.
No. Maybe one day we sit down in the office, because I just mentioned to you how many times that beam has been replaced there. That's a walking zone for the kids coming home. And I presented the pictures to you, how many times it's been crashed in. That is very dangerous there. What is it, time for you to speak up to the county? They'll put a street light there, but that is too dangerous there on that spot. You have too many kids there in the area. Now, as far as getting back to Livingston Avenue, for 6 months, like I said, one thing where some of you shake your head, but believe me, when I ask you to do something, it's for a reason. Believe me, what I see, and I provide you with the evidence of what I'm seeing of something dangerous. I've been complaining about past over 6 months with that light on Handy and Livingston, been out. Of course, it's been over 6 months. The same last one I told, please tell you to call the president of PSE&G. It is so dark there. This is daylight. This is dark, no lights. I will give it to you, and these are the pictures to show you from Eyewitness News, to show you the night that the man was killed there. The light was still out. So what I try to proceed to you, what I'm saying with safety, is to try to avoid someone getting hurt or killed. And like I said, when some of you should work and shake your head about certain things, I can't say what the cause was. It was raining, but like I said, the main thing that I see, it was dark. Sure, you keep trying to say he was hit by Baldwin Street, but after I got the the pictures where I took off to the news camera to show where the markings were, where he really was hit, it was closer in the dark than it was on Baldwin Street. So please, like I said, I know Mr. Jones provided me with evidence at the time that you did present to PSE&G, but what, has anything been done yet? With a lot of Livingston Avenue street lights.
Well, again, we can only do what we can do. It's not like we can go out there and change them ourselves.
Well, believe me, I think it's time for someone maybe to go to the county meeting. I even asked the mayor, he refused to talk to me. Wow, I wouldn't even I never go to the mayor for nothing but to sit down, but I think it's time for it to step up to the county. Now they're saying to the feds, now to the states. This was supposed to be done last year due to we're on videotape. $895,000. They gave me the schedule, what was supposed to be done. They told me it was to be done by September, the money had to be used. It was never done. So yes, I think it's time for the mayor and a few other employees to speak up at the county meeting instead of just putting in paperwork. Well, come on, make it safe for our pedestrians due to where what? Lieutenant Trigg just did a test with his workers that was on April 12th over what, 40 tickets they gave out for different reasons due to where what? They don't respect pedestrians, you have them on cell phones, they're speeding, so please, this is a very dangerous road. And like I said, you have what, 4 schools on Livingston Avenue, so I think it's time maybe the mayor can come to the county meeting tomorrow or someone and speak up to the county like, come on, I think it's time for something to really be done. Too many people are getting hit in a certain amount of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
And here you can have the pictures between Dave and like I said, there you go.
Sorry, Mr. Horowitz.
May I have one more moment?
No. I can't set a precedent.
All right, then I'll see you in 2
We
weeks.
can see you after the meeting. Are you around?
That would be good. I mean,
Don't please. Thank you.
I got it.
Yes, sir.
Teresa Vivar, Ronazos America Unida, I'm also a resident on Prosper Street. I want to say thank you for approving the permits we asked to celebrate all these different cultural events in New Brunswick. I appreciate the support because this is the first time that we apply indirectly, so thank you because it has been, tricky. We don't know how to do this properly, but we're learning. We go through the process. So I hope the police department also cooperate with us because we also try to understand how we can, make all this possible without spending too much money into it. We don't have the money. So the other part is that the new times where we're dealing with plagues, as you know, bed bugs and roaches and other issues are coming into our homes again because the season. I just want to point out that even though we try as organizations and other institutions here in the city to collaborate with landlords and everybody, all institutions of rent control, etc., to work in these landlord and tenant issues, I think we have to, some point, the city council and other institutions to sit down together to create some type of approach, because year to year, we see the houses are very bad maintained, the quality of the houses are very bad in New Brunswick. We pay high rents, honestly the rents are getting higher and higher in our city, and the conditions are very bad. It don't matter if I clean my house and I try to protect my house, from these plagues. It don't matter because the other houses, the other landlords, I'm not gonna do it. Also about the garbage. I know and I appreciate the initiative from the city to stop, with this garbage things and even the recycling thing, which I appreciate because our organization is also always working on that issue. We try to recycle, teach our kids about recycling, but I think also is a point that the landlords don't provide the containers that should be in order to start recycling properly, and so we ask maybe the city council again and another institution, public works, that cooperate with us and some type of approach in which maybe tenants can purchase one can for garbage and maybe the landlords can give another one for recycling. So we can have all the city can have the different colors for containers that should be used to recycling the garbage. I'm being approached at different landlords and then we start saying or complaining that somebody take the beans, but honestly, when we have these community meetings, everybody complains that the landlords don't provide with the proper beans. And on top of that, if, again, you have an abandoned property that is in the hands of the city, please remember that as America Unida is a Mexican organization, our population is growing so fast. We need a community center as we have one, but it's very expensive to have. We continue having our groups meeting there, but if you have a property that we can, as community, work together to have a community center, please let us know. We have more than 15 years of serving here in the city of New Brunswick. We continue helping with volunteers. We continue building and creating nice programs, but please, we need a space in which we can, continue teaching our kids our culture and have meetings without worry that somebody's going to kick us out anytime. Thank you, and again, thank you for helping us with passing the resolution on our cultural events.
Thank you. And if you attend continue the problems or whatever, make sure that you continue to see the housing inspections, report anything you have. You know, you can, one time it'll build up on different things. So if you have any complaints or whatever, make sure you get to City Hall, especially with the housing. Mr. Jones?
Council President, so to speak to Teresa's point, the city is piloting, we're starting a pilot program with Unity Square to actually bring department representatives into that space. It creates somewhat of a safe space for residents who tend to not come to City Hall or come to Civic Square for any of the issues. So what we'll be doing is we'll be having a representative from Rent Control, the police department, the mayor's office, DPW, engineering, so on, throughout the month. So individuals who frequent those community spaces can come there with their issues and also to come there to get information. So if Lazos would like to be a part of that program where we set up something throughout the month where you have a representative from the city there to address some of the concerns, some of the issues, and make sure that people have the information that they need, then I think that's a way that we can move forward. It'll also be a way that we can help educate and engage the community on things such as block cleanups, as well as the traffic issues. Traffic issues is something that we're taking very serious. While we have some challenges that we're trying to fix with the county and the state, we all know in this room that pedestrian safety and pedestrian using crosswalks and bikes have been a huge issue. We saved maybe 3 people this morning from getting hit right here on this corner from just walking out into the street on their cell phones. So there's a lot of things that we're working on in terms of engaging the community. We need the partnership from these community orgs, and we're willing to, and we will be going out into the community and setting up these satellite offices in these particular agencies.
Thank you.
Last week, there was they had one of the first workshops also that with landlord tenants, and they have representatives from the cities there and the inspection department at the Unity Square for the community tools.
I just want to mention that, again, we've been here like a lot of years working on these issues. And we have also been working on this and bringing people, teaching them where these offices are, rent control, how to do the process, go to the court, and take it to the court. And we will translate. The issue here is that we have to create a program in which we're going to do the follow-up on these cases because people complain and then people move. And we have cases, and we know that rent control know these, recurrent landlords that don't fix their problems. And we went to speak with the rent control, and they know these cases, but they just said, okay, we're working with the landlord, but the people is moving, and the problem never ends, and the landlord is renting the place in bad conditions. I'm not saying I'm lying to you, just go around, many of you should go to visit their homes, are in bad shape, and the rents are increasing, these people are paying $900 per room. So if we are going to continue having this bad quality of housing and raising the rents, imagine we pushing the people to live more than 3-4 people in their home. So we are creating a chaos where we should find a way. We already know the progress. This is something not new. I appreciate that you are creating this pilot program and we are going to cooperate in any possible way. But please, let's create something more clear that we want to know and want to see results. Otherwise, again, what matter if I clean my house? The landlord is asking us for a lot of rent, even water. One family, one lady who passed away of cancer was taken up of her apartment, and she has to pay $4,000 because the water, some part of the water was broken underground. She didn't know that part, so the landlord kicked her out because she wasn't able to pay for the $4,000.
There's something there that seems wrong to me, it's excessive or something like that, especially with rent control, so I'm sure some of the cities will look into that.
Mr. You want to say something, Connie?
No, I was listening to Mr. Kathy.
And that was my change, sorry, thank you.
Thank you. For the public? Yes,
I also live on Main Street, and I have
your name, ma'am?
Ernestine Young, live on Main Street. And it's bad parking, like for residential parking. You have people that move in on the street and they live like off of Livingston Avenue and Bay Street, and they'll come and park in your area. I don't own the street, but, I mean, when they have residential parking, shouldn't they have that in the area also?
It's supposed to be within 2 blocks.
Within 2 blocks? So if they live on Livingston Avenue, and a homeowner that rents to a family of 6, they have like their own property, and they have like, living in a residential area, and they're doing like a business with, big vans and big trucks. Should they park a certain area like on Livingston Avenue instead of bringing the park into a residential area?
I'm not sure about the businesses or whatever, but if you have any of those addresses or whatever, if you would just definitely give them to us, we'll check them out and make sure that it's zoned for that purpose, because there's only so many permits that should be allowed.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Diane Scott, I'm Mr. Scott's daughter. I just need some clarification. I think the question that she wanted to know is what is the protocol for a resident to get resident parking for their area? I know that you referenced a 2-block radius, but what were you referring to? What would they have to do to have the city consider that particular neighborhood for resident parking?
Oh, so they don't have it yet?
Correct.
Okay. That's with the traffic commission and the parking authority?
There's a petition process that is required that would go before the traffic commission. People in that particular neighborhood, residents in the neighborhood, would fill out a petition. It would be presented to the traffic commission, and they would consider whether or not resident permit parking is warranted. And it's done on a regular basis. Obviously, the more residents you get to sign on, the better.
Is there any particular language that has to be required in the petition?
It's not specific language other than, we the residents of wherever these streets or this area are requesting resident permit parking in our neighborhood due to the volume of non-residents parking, something of that nature.
Okay, and who would it be submitted to once it's drafted?
The traffic commission starts there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you for your comments. At this point in time, we will move back to the public hearings on the ABC charges for First Citizen Incorporated, trading as Interior Bar, liquor license number 121433047-005. Mr. Shannon.
Mr. Council President, members of the council, I know that Mr. Roberts is here, who represents the licensee, First Citizen trading as Meteor Bar. I understand that you may have an application to the council for an adjournment. I would like to have a 10-minute recess to get my witnesses in line. I don't know if you want to hear from Mr. Roberts regarding his application first and then take the recess, or what the council's pleasure is.
Why don't we just hear from Mr. Roberts first?
Okay.
Michael Roberts, on behalf of Meteor Bar. I would make a request for a continuance from going forward with the hearing today. The purpose for that request is to allow me some additional time to review some of the voluminous discovery that has been provided by the city attorney's office in this case. I would say that the city attorney has been very cooperative and very diligent in providing me with the discovery upon my request. But the most recent discovery I did receive, I believe I received on April 24th, and that included, in addition to paper discovery, CDs, MVRs, things of that nature, which I've not had the opportunity to review in detail with my client. In addition, there was a reciprocal discovery demand that I do want to respond to, and I owe that to the city attorney. For those reasons, I think it would be prudent for the board to grant a continuance, so I'm adequately prepared to proceed.
Let's do it this way, since you'll have some more time, but I'd like to hear from Mr. Shammy, his case or whatever, and then come back to the next meeting to have your side basically of it, so that we don't have to waste more time with the police officers and the people that have been subpoenaed here. So that's the way we're going to go. All right?
That's fine, Council President.
5 to 10 minutes.
Can I get 10 minutes, just a 10-minute recess, and then we could resume at 20 minutes to 8, I guess
Okay.
it would be.
Meeting's adjourned till 8:40, 7:40. We will start. These are our half part, the ABC charges for First Serve Incorporated trading at Montier Bar, liquor license number 12143304705. Chairman is over. Mr. Shami, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, I am ready to proceed. Mr. Council President, members of council, I'd invite Mr. Roberts up front here. You can sit right there if you'd like, sir. I plan on putting witnesses at that table. And then, for purposes of your questioning, it's fine if you want to sit next to them or stand next to them. That's trying to accommodate everybody with the layout of the room. I would like to make a brief statement before we start the hearing. As Council President indicated, these are liquor license charges brought by the New Brunswick Police Department against First Serve Inc., license number 12-14-33-047-005, dated April 1st, 2019, signed by Detective Ryan DeCraw, ABC officer for the City of New Brunswick. As the council is well aware, and members of public may also be aware, and some individuals here in the chamber, this particular licensed establishment has been subject to special conditions for several years. In fact, in your annual tavern report, as you will recall, this particular establishment has been under scrutiny by the New Brunswick Police Department and this very council for purposes of complying with the rules and regulations attendant to a liquor license establishment. As the council is well aware, and I'm sure the licensee is as well as council, owning a liquor license is not a right, it's a privilege, and it's a highly regulated privilege to be maintained by a particular licensee and his or her employees or its employees, not only in New Brunswick but throughout the state of New Jersey. So owning a liquor license and dispensing alcoholic beverages is not someone's right, it's a privilege that's highly regulated. And this council has the ability, at first blush, to criticize and to condemn actions that are not consistent with state law and regulation. This particular licensee has been put on special conditions, and those special conditions have been approved by the director of the ABC on several occasions. Starting back in 2014, at least 5 years ago, we placed a special condition on the licensee, one that I believe is pertinent in this particular matter, that deals with extra duty New Brunswick police officers to attend to security and maintaining the license of the premises consistent with state law and regulation. That particular regulation was attached to the licensee for Friday and Saturday evenings, I believe from 10:30 until close at 2:30, to allow the licensed establishment to close in an orderly fashion so as not to disrupt anyone in the neighborhood or to maintain the safety of its patrons. In 2016, after this licensee came here asking that the special conditions be relaxed, this council, based upon representations of the licensee and history to date, relaxed the special condition, allowing the licensee not to hire a New Brunswick off-duty police officer to maintain order in and about the licensed premises, but to allow a private security firm to do so. That particular special condition was relaxed in 2016 and remains to this day. So therefore, no New Brunswick uniformed police officer was required. However, private security was required to maintain order in and about the licensed premises. This particular council gave the licensee the benefit of the doubt with respect to relaxing that special condition. The particular charges that are presented here tonight against the licensee one particular charge specifically involves that particular special condition. I would like just to give the council preliminarily what I'll mark as C1, which the council already has had for some time now, the April 1st, 2019 charges which have been filed against the licensee. Take a copy to the clerk. Mr. Roberts, you have this, I have it. Okay. This particular charge sheet lists charges that start on October 12th, 2018 and run through January 1st of 2019. For purposes of our hearing, as the council has so allowed here this evening, we are only going to present officers who are going to testify about 2, possibly 3 of the incidents that formulate the charges. However, for purposes of an overview, in October of 2018, the licensed establishment was subject to a raid by not only the New Brunswick Police Department, but the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office. That particular raid was a result of undercover activity revealing that controlled dangerous substances were being sold at the licensed establishment, inside the licensed establishment. Not by patrons, but by paid security employees of the licensed establishment. As a result of that particular raid, the ABC officer, Detective DeGraw, and I believe Detective DeBonis were involved in a investigation that sought to investigate the ABC rules and regulations and state statutes that were violated in connection with those particular sections, not to mention the criminal activity, which the council will see through the course of this hearing is not permitted on the licensed premises. During the course of that investigation, there were several documents that were requested that were not provided in a timely fashion. As a result of that investigation, a few of the individuals who were hired as security guards were disqualified from employment from the licensed establishment based upon prior criminal records that the licensee never sought to discover, and therefore should have never been working on the premises. Thereafter, on December 1st, after charges against these individuals were brought, after the licensee knew, because he was called, the principal of the licensee, Mr. Sivakumar, was called to the establishment that evening, having known he had this problem. Again, on December 1st, 2018, police were required to respond to the scene as a result of an altercation. You will hear an officer testify here this evening that at that particular evening, there was an individual patron who claims he was struck by a security guard and assaulted that particular evening on December 1st. Again, on January 1st, the same type of incident occurred. Police were called to respond to the scene. On that particular occasion, the victim, a patron of the bar, again says he was maced by a security guard, an employee of the licensed establishment. Both occasions, the security guards were charged and arrested. And then that very evening, December 31st into January 1st, is where we had the violation of the special condition. Licensee was required to provide extra duty, or not extra duty, but private security, and they failed to do so until the time of closing, saying they were going to close, and in fact they never closed that particular evening until 5 a.m., which is permitted under the ordinance because it was New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. And we'll hear testimony to that effect. Perhaps not this evening, but on our next hearing date. Having said that, the city is prepared to show that the licensed establishment has been conducted, for lack of a better term, like the Wild Wild West. And unfortunately, incidents have occurred there, not only assaults, altercations, but the violation of criminal law with respect to the distribution of controlled dangerous substances, which should never occur on a liquor licensed premises, especially one that has been under scrutiny by this council for trying to correct its bad behavior. And unfortunately, it's only gotten worse. It is the recommendation of the New Brunswick Police Department that as a result of the hearing and what we believe will be a sustaining of the charges, that this liquor license be revoked. We are not looking for suspension, we are looking for revocation of this license in light of the history and the severity of the incidents which support the charges. Having said that, I am ready to call my first witness, but in fairness to Mr. Roberts, perhaps you might want to hear from him for a short statement like I just gave.
Anything at this time, Mr. Roberts?
Yes, thank you. And forgive my ignorance, I'm usually addressing a court and not a panel like yourself. But I do, on behalf of Mr. Siva Kumar, who is present, he does take these charges seriously. He has been the licensed owner for Mi Tierra Bar going on for nearly 25 years at that establishment. And he takes his obligations seriously, and he understands that a liquor license is a privilege and not a right. He certainly takes these charges listed in C1 very seriously, and there are a lot of charges. And as this hearing carries out, I would imagine the board is going to find that many of these charges are exaggerated, unfounded, inappropriate. When you look at the records, and there is a history with this bar, and there were special conditions that were put in place, but when you look at the record, since 2016 there has been a marked improvement in terms of the information that is provided routinely in the tavern reports. There has been far less service calls to this bar. There has been virtually no noise complaints at this bar. Mr. Siva Kumar has been compliant in terms of having security, and the incidents that the city attorney speaks for were incidents in an effort to keep order and compliance in the bar when you had drunk, unruly, harassing, and inappropriate patrons that refused to peaceably leave the establishment when they were asked. The first incident referenced by the city attorney, December 1st, 2018, you're going to hear testimony that that victim who was assaulted was drunk and that he attacked the security officer, striking him in the face twice when he was trying to be removed. That he understood that he was wrong because he told police that he did not want to press charges. And no criminal arrest was made for that security officer. January 1st, that same security officer was, again, and this is New Year's Day, involved in an incident. You're going to hear, I would imagine, that an incident involved pepper spray in an effort to stop a fight. That Mr. Siva Kumar brought in security as the special conditions required for him, and there was an effort to keep order and keep compliance for the protection of the patrons and the community and the public. After that second incident, you will learn that Mr. Siva Kumar terminated that security officer because he thought that he was not appropriately handling himself, now having been involved in 2 physical altercations, that it would be prudent and responsible for him to be replaced. So we understand that the city, at the end, will be seeking revocation. Given the history here, and although some of these charges are very serious and they're taken very seriously, I would submit that a revocation is not appropriate. We are not talking about repeated and ongoing violations. You will find that Mr. Siva Kumar has been compliant in terms of having security as a resolution was adopted in June of 2018, that there was no violation there and that a revocation is unwarranted and inappropriate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Council President, members of council. I'd like to call my first witness, Police Officer Robert Trevish.
Sure. If I could request sequestration of these witnesses, I don't know if that's appropriate at this venue, but just to the extent that they're testifying about similar acts, I've asked for sequestration ought to be put in
Well, I
place.
did represent the council and to the city council and to legal counsel that these two officers who are testifying are not testifying about the same incident. They're two separate incidents. And the other officer who's here, the ABC officer, wasn't there when the incident occurred, so he's not going to be testifying about it either. So if you're concerned about that, I don't think
Then
there's...
it's withdrawn under that representation.
Thank you. Officer, can you have a seat, sir? And I know you've been through this drill before, officer, but do you swear to tell the truth, everything, but the truth in connection with these proceedings?
I do.
Okay, we don't have a Bible, so how do you do that? Can you tell us, sir, are you employed
Yes, sir.
and by whom?
City of New Brunswick.
And just for the record, state your full name again.
Robert Trivish.
Okay. And in what capacity are you employed by the city of Brunswick, sir?
I'm a police officer.
And how long have you been a police officer with the city?
Approximately 5 years.
Okay. And are you assigned to any particular patrol or division, sir?
Yes, patrol.
Okay. And how long have you been on patrol?
The entire 5 years.
Okay. Good for you. And were you working for the New Brunswick Police Department on patrol back on December 1st, 2018?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And you were working which particular shift? Do you recall that night?
I believe it was afternoon shift.
Okay. And on that particular date, officer, did you have occasion to respond to a call at the Meteora Bar located at 14 Jersey Avenue in New Brunswick?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell us the nature of the call upon your arrival, which you were told you were going to investigate or to discover?
We were called to BTR Bar for the report of, I guess, a patron had called and stated that he was struck by a security guard inside the bar.
And the purposes of your testimony, can I get up, counsel, and work my way over here? I want to show you what I'm marking as C2 for Mr. Roberts' benefit. It's going to be the 12/1/18 police report of the officer, which has been submitted and discovered. Take a look at C2, which I have marked as an exhibit. As a result of this particular call, did you produce a report, make out a report?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you need that report to refresh your recollection about the names or the events that occurred that particular date?
Yes.
Okay, then you could review the report if you need to. But do you remember the nature of the call other than somebody was struck or assaulted?
In reference
To an the individual's names?
Oh, yes.
Okay, can you tell us who the names were?
The victim was Jorge Mata, and he was struck by the security guard Jose Jimenez Porras.
Okay. So the first individual, was he a patron of the bar?
Yes, he
From
was.
your investigation? And the second individual, Mr. Mata,
Mata.
was he an employee of the bar, to your knowledge?
I'm sorry, Mata was the
Victim. Okay, and who was the other individual?
Porras.
Was he an employee of the bar?
Yes.
Okay, did you reveal from your investigation what type of employee, what did he do for the bar?
Yes, he worked security for the bar.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to interview both of these individuals in the course of your investigation?
Yes, I did.
Okay, what did the victim relate to you as to what occurred?
When I arrived on scene, the victim was outside the bar. He had blood all over his head and face, and I asked him what had happened. He stated that the bouncer inside the bar had shoved him and kept telling him to leave the bar. And he said that he asked the bouncer why he was shoving him, and at that time he stated that the bouncer hit him in the head with a flashlight.
Okay. And as a result of the strike to the head, did he tell you that's how he caused the bleeding or the laceration? Okay. Did you have an opportunity to speak to the other individual, the employee of the bar?
I did.
Okay. What was his name again?
He was Jose Jimenez Porras.
Okay. And what did Mr. Porras relate to you about the happening of this incident?
Mr. Porras stated that the patron was inside the bar since the bar opened that day.
Okay.
And that he had gotten very intoxicated inside the bar, and he was attempting to solicit physical altercations with other patrons in the bar.
Okay.
So Mr. Porras stated that he tried to remove Mr. Mata from the bar. He said he grabbed him by the arm to escort him out of the bar. And he said upon doing so, Mr. Mata struck him in the face with a closed fist.
Okay. And then what did he say that he did to the other individual?
Yeah, he said in response to being struck in the face, he then struck Mr. Mata in the head with a flashlight.
Okay, so he admitted to hitting him in the head with a flashlight?
Yes, he did.
Okay. As a result of your investigation, were there any arrests made?
Not by me.
Okay. And how about with respect to the victim? Was he taken to the hospital to your knowledge?
Yes, he was.
Okay. As a result of that particular incident, did you have any further communication with Mr. Porras, the security officer?
I did not, no.
Okay. Did you conclude your investigation with respect to that matter at that particular date?
I accompanied the victim to the hospital to assess the severity of his injuries.
Okay. Did you receive stitches or anything to your knowledge?
The only thing that I was told by the medical staff was that it was superficial and it wasn't life-threatening.
Okay, well, good for him. All right. Have you testified in court against either of these individuals or on behalf of any of these individuals to date?
No.
Okay. I have no further questions for the officer.
Officer Trivich, did I say that right? Trivich, thank you. Were you the first officer to arrive at the scene in response to that? Was it a 911 call that was placed?
Not entirely sure if it was 911 or non-emergency.
Okay, but you were dispatched to that area, is that correct?
Yes.
Were you the first officer to arrive from that dispatch?
To my recollection, yes, I was the first one.
Was there any officers that arrived at the scene after you?
I honestly don't remember.
Okay. But you conducted the investigation consistent with your testimony just a moment ago, correct?
Correct.
And you had the opportunity to speak to both Mr. Mata as well as Mr. Porras, correct?
That's correct.
You were able to make some observations of these individuals as well, correct?
Yes.
Would you agree with me that you observed Mr. Mata to be extremely intoxicated? Is that correct?
Yes.
That you found that his eyes were bloodshot? Is that correct?
Yes.
And watery?
Correct.
And slurring his words?
That's correct.
And based upon your training and experience as a law enforcement officer, you would find that those symptoms are consistent with intoxication. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And Mr. Mata had relayed to you that he was struck in the head by the person that he identified as the bouncer. Is that right?
Correct.
And you understood that that person was Mr. Porras, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Porras did indicate that he did strike Mr. Mata, correct?
Yes.
But first he indicated that he was attempting to escort Mr. Mata off the property. Is that right?
Yes.
That he had grabbed him by the arm and tried to remove him?
Yes.
And it was Mr. Porras's recollection that Mr. Mata had struck him with a closed fist, correct?
Yes.
In fact, Mr. Porras had indicated that Mr. Mata had struck him twice with a closed fist. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
And that was before Mr. Porras had struck him with the flashlight, correct?
Correct.
And to your knowledge, did Mr. Porras indicate if that flashlight was something that he was holding or something that he went and retrieved? Was there any testimony from either of those witnesses as to where that flashlight came from?
Not to my recollection, no.
Okay. And you said that you didn't arrest Mr. Porras as a result of this incident?
I did not.
And is it also true that Mr. Mata indicated that he did not want charges pressed as a result of this incident?
Yes.
And he did not really want to cooperate with New Brunswick Police Department, is that correct?
Yes.
And when you reported to the hospital, the only thing that they told you was that the wound was superficial and not life-threatening?
Correct.
Nothing further.
I have a little redirect. Well, officer, you've been with the New Brunswick Police Department for 5 years, you testified?
Yes, sir.
Okay. During those 5 years of employment as a patrol officer with the New Brunswick Police Department, have you ever had occasion to respond to calls from bars to tend to disorderly patrons?
Yes.
on numerous occasions?
Yes.
Okay, and when you get called by a liquor licensed establishment in Brunswick to deal with a disorderly patron, you or your partner presumably, go in and address the particular patron, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And patrons who often get calls, would you say that they've been drinking?
Yes.
And they're probably intoxicated, like Mr. Roberts was talking to you about this individual at the meteor that night?
Correct.
And based upon your training and your experience, you know how to deal with people who are intoxicated. Is that a fair statement?
I would say that's fair, yes.
Do you have occasion when you go to these liquor license establishments to assist with disorderly patrons, to hit them over the head with your flashlight when they don't respond?
Myself personally?
Yes.
No.
Okay. That's not part of your training, is it, sir?
No.
You're trained how to deal with people who are unruly or intoxicated?
Yes.
And the reason, would you not agree, that people from liquor license establishments call the New Brunswick Police Department to assist with unruly patrons or patrons who maybe had a little too much to drink is because you and your fellow officers are properly trained and have the knowledge as to how to handle patrons who are intoxicated and perhaps creating a problem?
Yes.
And of course, you do your job and you remove them from the liquor license establishment if need be?
Correct.
And you've done that on numerous occasions in the past, haven't you?
Yes.
Okay, I have no further questions for this witness.
Officer Trivish, did I get it right this time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You've been trained in the appropriate use of force as a law enforcement officer, correct?
Correct.
And that's non-lethal force, correct?
Yes.
And in certain instances, lethal force, correct?
Correct.
And would you agree with me that if you were struck twice in the face, that would justify a certain use of force by you in response?
Yes, it would justify use of force.
Nothing further.
But not hitting somebody over the head with a flashlight, correct, officer?
It would probably be an equal use of force, yeah.
I'm sorry, thank you, officer. The next witness I'm ready for. Thank you. You're excused. Yes. I'd like to call Patrolman Hammy. Have a seat, sir. Thank you. Could you state your full name?
John Hammond.
Okay. Officer Hammond, you swear to tell the truth and everything but the truth in connection with these proceedings?
I did.
Okay, sir. Are you employed, sir?
Yes, sir.
And by whom?
City of New Brunswick.
Okay, in what capacity?
Police officer.
How long have you been a police officer, sir?
Approximately 11 months.
And are you assigned to a particular division or section of the police department?
Sure.
Okay, and how long have you been on patrol?
My whole time here.
In connection with your employment as a New Brunswick police officer, did you have occasion to be working on the early morning hours, or maybe late morning hours of January 1st, 2019? And in connection with that particular tour of duty, did you have occasion to respond to a call at the New Tierra Bar located on Jersey Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall the nature of the reason for the call? Can you advise as to why you were going to that scene?
Our dispatch relayed that the caller stated he was sprayed in the face with mace by one of the workers in the bar.
Okay. Did you arrive at the scene as a result of that particular call from dispatch? Okay. Did you arrive alone or with a partner?
A partner, Officer Drews.
Okay. And were you and Officer Drews the first officers to arrive at the scene?
Yes.
Upon arriving at the scene, did you conduct an investigation as to what occurred?
Yes.
Did you speak with anyone?
Yes.
let me show you what's been marked C3. For council's benefit, it is officers' report dated January 1, 2019. Take a look at that, officer. Tell me if you recognize what that is. Is that your report that you prepared as a result of the incident we're talking about? Okay. So let me ask you again, as part of your investigation, did you have an opportunity to speak to anyone involved?
Yes.
Okay, who'd you speak to?
The victim and the sister.
Okay, what was the victim's name, do you recall?
Antonio Lopez.
Okay, and was Mr. Lopez a patron at the bar?
Yes.
Okay, and what did he relate to you happened?
He stated he was sitting at the bar and the bouncer sprayed him in the face with mace for no reason.
For no reason?
Yes.
Okay, and as a result of being sprayed in the face, was he injured in any way to your knowledge or showing any signs of discomfort?
Yes. Progressively after talking to him, it got worse because I'm able to see and call EMS.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to interview anyone else in the course of your investigation?
Yes.
And who was that?
The bouncer of the bar.
Okay, Mr. Porras?
Yes.
Okay, he told you he was an employee of the bar?
Yes.
Okay. Did he, by the way, did he have any attire on that says security on the front or the back of his shirt, anything like that that you recall?
I don't recall.
Okay. And what did he relate to you as to what occurred that particular evening?
He stated that the victim was in a fight with two other males. He attempted to break that fight up. The victim didn't leave the bar and he sprayed him in the face.
Okay. Did you ask that particular individual, Mr. Porson, that night, did he call the police? Did he try to call the police to assist him and the other employees at the bar with this incident?
He did not.
Did he relate to you that he was struck in any way?
He did not.
Did you have an opportunity to interview any of the other individuals who were alleged to have been involved in this altercation?
No.
As a result of your investigation, were there any arrests made or charges brought?
Yes.
Against whom and what?
So was it him and his Boris for aggravated assault, which was approved by our assistant prosecutor.
Okay. And was Mr. Porras thereafter arrested?
I'm sorry.
Was he arrested?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you were involved in the arrest?
Yes.
Okay. And you were the one who signed the charges?
Either myself or my partner did.
Okay. Have you been to court to testify as of yet with respect to these charges?
No.
Okay. But Mr. Porras admitted to you during the course of your investigation that he had sprayed this individual in the face with mace?
Yes.
Do you recall what time of the day or night this incident occurred?
I believe
You need to look at your report to refresh your recollection.
it was 17:37 hours.
Okay. For the members of the public, do the arithmetic. What time of the day was that?
5:30.
Yeah, okay.
AM.
I'm sorry.
AM,
PM.
PM. As a result of your investigation, have you had an opportunity to speak with either of the victims since then, or either of the individuals, the victim or the defendant, since the time of your investigation?
No.
Okay. By the way, officer, have you had occasion to go to calls to this particular establishment since the time that you were there? Okay. All right, I have no further questions for Officer Hammond.
Mr. Roberts.
Thank you. Officer Hammond, my name is Michael Roberts. Represent ETR Bar. You indicated that you were dispatched and you spoke to Mr. Antonio Lopez, correct?
Yes.
And he told you that he had been sprayed in the face with mace, correct?
Yes.
Did you understand that to be OC spray?
Yes.
Okay, and OC spray is something that you're familiar with as a law enforcement officer?
Yes.
Is that something you carry?
Yes.
In Brunswick? Okay. And you understand that OC spray is non-lethal, correct?
Yes.
And Mr. Lopez had told you that he had been sprayed for no reason, correct?
Yes.
Did you believe that that was an honest and fair recitation of what had transpired that night?
No.
Okay. So you wound up speaking to Mr. Porras as well, correct?
Yes.
And he had informed you that he was trying to break up a fight between Mr. Lopez and two other people. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you didn't identify those other two people, correct?
They had left before we got there.
All right. So you weren't able to take any statements from them, correct?
Correct.
And you don't know who those other two people are?
Correct.
Okay. But as a result of the fact that the OC spray was used, the decision to charge an arrest was made. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you indicated that the charge was an aggravated assault. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you also understand that that charge has in fact been downgraded and remanded to the municipal court?
I do not know that. No.
Let me ask you a question. Are you familiar, as a law enforcement officer, I'm sure you are, with the different degrees of crimes and penalties that we have under the 2C code?
Yes.
And you understand that aggravated assault is an indictable crime, is that correct?
Yes.
And there's different levels of aggravated assault, be it 4th degree, 3rd degree, 2nd degree, depending upon the severity of the injury as well as the facts and the circumstances. And you also understand that simple assault is a disorderly persons offense, is that correct?
Yes.
And you understand that the municipal court has jurisdiction over traffic matters and disorderly persons offenses, correct?
Yes. Sorry.
That's okay. Whereas the Superior Court has jurisdiction over indictable matters. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. If I can have something marked, I guess we'll call it, I don't know.
Well, I marked mine C1, City 1. You want to do Percev 1, P1?
P1. P1. And I'll show you, Mr. Shannon.
I haven't seen this yet, I suspect.
You have it.
Okay. So this is just a downgrade. I believed you when you were testifying, when you were asking me to testify about it.
Sure. Officer, I'm going to show you P1. Does that appear to you to be a printout from the Superior Court status with regard to the summons that was issued in this case?
I'm not familiar with this.
Okay, that's not a document you've ever seen before?
No.
You're not trained on how to read that. Is that fair?
Yes.
Then I'm not going to ask you any questions about it. Nothing further, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing further for the officer to have. Thank you, officer.
Thank you.
I thought I was going to have a third witness. Detective DeGraw, thank you. Detective DeGraw, do we have a third witness or no?
He says he's on his way as of 8:09.
Yeah. Okay.
How far is coming from?
Scataway?
Scataway. Okay. Well, let me say this. The third witness would be a relatively quick witness as well. If the council is so inclined to wait a few minutes, or if you think not, maybe we should just adjourn. But I think we have to discuss the next date for continuance, which I propose to be the next city council meeting date. In the interest of having this hearing get resolved before liquor license renewals come up, I think I would like to, with the council's consent, to relist it for the 15th. I know you have your budget hearing on that, potentially your budget hearing on that particular night. But again, we could have this hearing commence after all other city council business is concluded.
Do you have anybody else besides the other officer that's coming?
Yeah, I have.
Anything else after that?
Well, the other one is a civilian who's coming. He'll be 10 minutes perhaps, and then I have Detective DeGraw.
And he's not here yet.
DeGraw's here, but in fairness to council, he's probably the longest witness, and he probably needs more time to review the discovery materials in order to cross-examine him. And then I have to get Mr. Roberts' witness list, which I suspect is going to be a few individuals. And you're going to provide me reciprocal discovery.
If we wait until 8:30, you think?
Should we?
It's about 5 minutes, I said.
5 minutes away?
He's on 18 right now.
Okay, so yeah, let's wait for him, he's on his way.
All right, just adjourn until 8:30, please.
Thank you.
Resume our hearing. Shannon.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Council President, members of council. I'd like to call my next witness, and he has just arrived. I'd like to call Rodney Blount to the table, not to the stand, but to the table. Mr. Blount, just as a formality, you obviously swear to tell the truth, everything but the truth in connection with these proceedings?
Yes.
All right, you can have a seat, sir. Thank you. Sir, are you employed, or do you have your own business of some nature?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. And what kind of business is that?
It's a security company, Citro Security and Investigations LLC.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge or history in law enforcement, sir?
Yes, I do. I was a 17-year veteran of the Brunswick Police Department, 12 in major crimes, and then I was hired by Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office in 2007, and I retired with 26 years of service from the Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office, February 1st, 2016.
Good for you. Congratulations. In connection with your private security company, tell us a little bit about what you do. You provide security officers for businesses and things of that nature?
Yes, sir, that is correct. I provide exterior security unarmed, and basically assignments that are handed out would basically be to secure, and it's within the city of New Brunswick. That's the only place that I'm actually operating right now.
Okay.
So it's exterior security unarmed, and that's for parking lots, exterior, for traffic and things of that nature.
Are your security officers licensed or certified?
Yes, they are. I have 3 employees, 2 of which are retired correction officers from Middlesex County Correctional Facility, and also myself.
Okay. And in connection with your company providing security services, have you had a customer, or do you still have a customer client known as Pursuit Inc., trading as Meteor Bar?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And are they a liquor license establishment located in New Brunswick?
Yes, sir, I do. I believe it's 14 Jersey Avenue or either 11. I'm not sure the exact address.
That's
It's Jersey Avenue.
And do you provide security services on a regular basis for that establishment, sir?
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. Evenings.
Evenings, okay. And how long have you been providing those services? Can you just tell us, recall?
I would say for Jersey Avenue, I would say approximately maybe 9 months.
Okay. And are you aware that there's any special conditions or requirements imposed by the City Council of the City of New Brunswick for that licensed establishment to provide that security?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay. And have you ever been provided with a copy of the City Council resolution which actually dictates the requirements?
I wasn't presented with it, but I spoke with the actual owner about it.
Okay. And I'm going to tell you are accurate. You recall that the requirements are from 10 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday evenings?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. And those would be the normal dates that your officers, your company would provide that security officer?
Yes, sir.
All right. Who arranges for the security officer with respect to the Meteor Bar? Is it an individual specifically? Or?
I arrange.
Okay, you from your company. How about from the Meteor establishment? Is there one person that you usually contract with or contact about?
There is a woman by the name of Maria. I'm not sure of her last name. She is the assistant bar manager that's usually there on the premises. So I would basically confer with her to let her know exactly who's going to be there. But I have one permanent person that's there.
Okay. Now, also in connection with your provision of these services, are you required by the Meteor to provide reports, monthly reports, so that they can be submitted to the New Brunswick Police Department regarding the security services?
Yes.
Okay. And do you do that on a regular basis?
On a regular basis, yes. I was doing monthly reports for the company, yes.
And those reports would detail the times and dates that your officers were attending to that establishment?
Yes, sir. Time, dates, location, responsibilities. If there was an incident that had taken place within a certain specific date, I would document that date and what response, if there was a police response, if there was no action, it would be noted in the monthly report.
Okay. Do you have recollection of having provided these security services or been contracted to the Meteor back on December 31st, 2018? Were you providing the services on a regular basis then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did there come a point in time when you were contacted by a representative of the Meteor, and you can tell me if you recall who that was, about the night of New Year's Eve, about providing security, I guess New Year's Eve into New Year's Day morning?
Yes, I contacted Maria, the manager, via text. I texted her in regards to the coverage for that evening going into the next morning. And at that time, I got a response back from her that she did not need security for the evening, that they were not going to be having an event. So
okay.
At that point, yes, I did make contact.
All right. And did, in effect, your company therefore not provide security because she was not going to be open? Is that what she indicated?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. Did there come a point in time that you learned that the establishment was open on that particular morning?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And what did you learn, and how did you come to learn it?
That morning, 31st, going into the 1st, I was in the city of New Brunswick. I had a second location, Gala Restaurant Bar. I was actually checking on another location that I had, at which time Sergeant Hoover from the New Brunswick Police Department came to the establishment, and he spoke to me in regards to a separate incident that was going on there. At that time, I advised him that I had, officers that were supposed to be at another location. I wasn't sure if the location was open because I didn't get a chance to go over to it yet. At that point, he advised me that he would go over and do a cursory check for me to see if there was security at that location. It was, and if it was open outside.
Did you ever come to learn of the results of his check or his investigation?
Yes, that is correct. I was notified that the establishment was open and there was no visible security at all outside, and that would have been my post or my person to be posted outside.
You take your company's provision of security duties very seriously, don't you, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And as you testified, you were aware that there was a requirement that this establishment have security on if they were going to be open on that particular morning. Is that true?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Did there come a point in time when you prepared a report or a letter to Mr. Sivakumar regarding this incident?
Yes, sir.
Let me show you what I would like to mark as C4. And you're looking at, counsel, it starts with the page before there. Take a look at that, sir. I've marked this City 4 for an exhibit. You can page through it quickly if you'd like. You need to read it, fine, but I'd like to ask you questions.
What is it, Mr. Chairman?
The witness is going to tell us.
What is the paper?
It's a report generated by this witness.
It's a monthly, actually it's a report that was initiated by myself, and it was provided to the actual owner itself, and also provided to the police department. I believe it was Detective DeGraw, that's why I usually address monthly.
Okay. Does the report detail what you've told us here this evening about that particular incident?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. And in support of your testimony in that report, did you provide any documentation from this Maria who works at the Meteor that she did not require security that particular evening?
Just advising her verbally that there was need for security. That was,
That there is no need for security.
that I was advised that there was no need from her. And it was via text, it wasn't
Right.
reference.
We'll turn to the third page of that exhibit. My pages are stuck together on that. I apologize. What is that, sir?
This is actually a copy. What I basically did is I actually printed out a copy of the text message.
Okay, so-
That was sent to me just as a, as a backup to just state that this is what the response was to my actual text.
Okay, so that's the response from Maria at Meet Tierra about she's in not need of security that evening.
Yes.
Okay. You still provide security services on occasion to Meet Tierra?
Yes, sir, we do.
And I appreciate the fact that you're here testifying in this public hearing about the Meet Tierra while technically, you still work for them. I appreciate you responding to my request to appear.
Well, I wanted to stay in compliance with what was provided to me by the management in the city as well, because I have to comply as well with the board.
Understood. All right. I have no further questions. Thank you, sir.
Report.
You can hold on to that. Mr. Roberts may have a question about. No, you have to ask.
Mr. Roberts might have some questions for you.
I do have a few, thank you, sir.
Yes.
All right, so I just want to clarify a few things. You had indicated that you started working, providing security service through your company approximately 9 months ago, is that correct?
It could have been more. I'm not really sure the exact timing of it. It could be 9, 10 months.
Okay, and it was your understanding that there were certain restrictions the city had put in place that required the presence of security in the bar?
That is correct. The actual owner himself actually, when he actually sought after me, he came to me and approached me at the gala, and he verbally, I'm not sure if he's here, but he verbally told me what the restrictions were before I even signed into a contract.
All right. Mr. Siva Kumar, can you stand up? Mr. Blount, is that the individual that you're speaking about?
Yes. Yes, sir.
All right. And just to be clear, the security that your company provides, is it external security or is it internal security or is it both?
External. My contract was for the outside of the facility, in front, parking areas, and the public. There was separate security for interior. Has nothing to do with my company. I don't know who they are.
Okay. And is it one officer that you would provide or is it more than one officer?
That is correct. It's one officer outside.
Okay. And is it just to maintain order and peace? Or does that person check IDs and things of that nature?
No, sir, that person does not check IDs. He's there to make sure that the sidewalk area is clear, there is no loitering, there's no loud noise obstructions outside in front of the bar itself. If someone comes out and there's open containers, any violations that could cause the bar to have a violation, that's what they're there for, the exterior only.
Okay. And is it, if there is an incident, is it their obligation to call the police or do they respond themselves to the incident?
No, if there is an incident, my employee, Mr. William Gordon, who has been there, it's probably pretty much been the only person outside, is instructed to, if there is an incident that's inside security will handle it. If there's an outside incident and it cannot be handled, the person will not comply. They are told to contact the Brunswick Police Department via cell phone, and that was told by me.
Okay, so there are some incidents that they can handle themselves. There are other incidents based upon the severity they may need to seek New Brunswick police. Is that fair?
Yes, that is fair.
Okay. And it was your understanding, in fact, you did provide security service for Meet Tierra Bar Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, 10 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes, three.
And was it your understanding that that was what was required by the city resolution?
Yes.
And I think you said that you had never actually viewed the city resolution in this instance. Is that true?
I was never provided a copy. I only spoke with your client, and he told me that these those were the restrictions of his establishment.
And your company also provides work for other bars, is that correct in New Brunswick?
One other
Gala Bar, I believe you testified?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. Are you familiar with the resolutions that come from the city of New Brunswick, even though you testified you have not seen the resolution that may have been in place with regard to Mitiera?
With the gala, yes. With Mitiera, no, there was just a meeting with your client. Actually, he stopped me while I was working there, and he wanted to hire a company, and then I had to ask him questions about, who he was. I didn't really know who he was, and within 48 hours, he wanted a contract, and basically, I had to do a little research to find out what was going on.
Okay.
Basically.
So he was eager to bring your company on board, is that fair?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, and you testified to some communications that you had with an individual that you know to be Maria with regard to whether security was warranted, needed for December 31st. Do I have that correct?
Yes, I would advise by your client to contact Maria. She would be the contact person for on-premises, anything that went on, to call her directly, not him. The folks contact could not contact him, so I was told to contact her.
And Mr. Blount, forgive me for leaning over your shoulder a little bit, but you have C4 in front of you, and that is 3 pages, correct?
Yes.
And the first page is basically the cover of a letter that you wrote, correct?
Yes.
Directed to Mr. Siva Kumar?
Yes.
And then you begin your narrative really on the bottom of the first page, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and that goes on to the second page, and then your narrative continues as to what happened and what transpired on 12/31, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then you appended this third page, is that correct?
Yes, I did.
And are these the text messages that you had with Maria with regard to whether or not security was needed on 12/31?
Yes, I believe that was the first text message. I did text her husband, but I don't know if there was a response to that because I also had his number as well.
Okay, but I want to be clear what's here on this page.
Yes.
So we have 5 lines, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And is this something that you recreated? I mean, it doesn't appear to me to be a screenshot, so I'm trying to understand exactly how this document was created.
Basically, what I did is I did the number search. There's a phone finder app that you can use for a telephone number, specific number. Basically, I mean, this is not involving a criminal investigation. It's just for my records, just to ascertain what was in the text message. It's not a screenshot to just say that it's a screenshot.
Okay. Well, let me see if I can understand this a little bit better. The first line says, "We okay, we close at 2 a.m." Is it your recollection that that was a text message that you received?
Yes.
Okay, from Maria, correct?
Yes.
And then the next line indicates, "So is my guy there 10 to 2 or not?" exclamation point. Was that your response?
Yes, that would have been, but that's not on it. That's not. Oh, yeah. Yes, that is.
Okay. So the first line Maria sends you, the second line you respond back.
That is correct.
And then it says, "So I can tell him," and then the next line is not, "We good." Could you provide a little clarity as to who the speaker was with regard to those 3 lines, or speakers?
Well, when it says not "we good," that is not me because I do not articulate like that. I think because there's a language barrier between us, sometimes we do, I do speak with her as well. I'm very familiar with Maria because that's who I deal with, but that is Maria, not "and we good," that's not me.
Okay. So I can tell him, is that you, sir? Third line.
Yes.
Okay. And did you understand that this meant that they did not require your services for that night in question?
Yes.
Okay. And am I correct, sir, that 12/31 was actually a Monday night, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And New Year's Day was a Tuesday, correct?
Yes.
And it was your understanding that the services you were providing was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday service?
That is correct.
On page, in your report, you do indicate, though, that, and I'm referring to the last line of your narrative, security weekends and holiday special events, including New Year's Eve. You had put that in your report, correct?
That is an initial contract. I'm not sure if your client provided you with that, but yes, that is stated in the contract that was submitted to your client. And I believe it was submitted to Mr. Gus's, it was sent initially. Who
All right, well, you know what, let me read the entire sentence, just so we're on the same page. It should be known that the ordinance calls for exterior security weekends and holiday special events, including New Year's Eve. I read that correctly, right, sir?
Yes, sir.
And you put that in your report, correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
And it was your understanding that the ordinance required him to have security for holiday special events, including New Year's Eve?
To the best of my recollection, yes.
But you indicated that you hadn't seen the ordinance, right?
No, I was not provided with a copy of it.
If I can approach Shammy, I guess we'll call this P2.
But this isn't an ordinance, this is a resolution. This is the resolution of special conditions.
All right, resolution dash 0618101.
It's the last resolution.
Well, I'm showing you what, forgive me, I didn't actually mark it, what I will now mark as P2. Does that appear to you to be a resolution of special conditions for the Tierra Bar?
Yes, that's what it states at the top of the resolution.
And does it indicate that that resolution is in effect, I believe, from June 2018 forward?
I don't have my glasses, but yes, I see it. 218, 219.
All right. And am I correct, sir, that in the first paragraph that sets forth the conditions, it indicates that the licensee shall hire uniformed private security to maintain security on or about the licensed premise while the premises are open for business during the hours of 10 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. Are you able to point to anything in that document, sir, that indicates special holidays, events, or New Year's Day?
No, there's nothing.
I have no other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Shammy.
No, I have nothing further.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take it. Thank you. That's all I have for this evening, members of council. What I think we should do, though, is to formalize the continuance date. And if the council is so inclined, we'll do that by resolution, and I could put together a resolution right here to reschedule the matter for the 15th at 6:30.
Could I be heard on that with respect to the date?
Sure.
I would ask for the first possible date in June. I understand that Mr. Sibu Kumar's license application is pending for renewal. I believe it expires June 30th. Starting May 14th, I am in a 2-week second-degree jury trial in this county before Judge Ray, and I think it would be unfair to that client as well as this client for me to be doing double duty and trying to continue this hearing on that date. So I would ask for the next possible date after that date.
What is that? What is that date, June?
That would be the meeting of June
5th or 6th.
5th. 4th is a Tuesday, it'd be the 5th. You know, I like Mr. Roberts. He's a very nice man, good attorney, and I can certainly relate to being on your feet all day and then all night, something like this. And I'm not going to object to his request if he does have a second-degree criminal jury trial coming up that period of time. So I will defer to the council with respect to moving it out.
Mr. Shannon said that, you okay with it?
I'm okay with it, if council's okay with it.
You can do okay.
Sure. Whatever you guys want.
I would only ask that Mr. Roberts be ready to proceed to conclusion on that particular June 5th date. I only have, I believe, 2 more witnesses, and I don't know how many witnesses you're going to have, but you're going to let me know, I suspect.
Very soon I will, you know.
Is that at 5:30 start for the regular meeting?
Actually, that's our first 5:30 meeting. The council moves its meetings from 6:30 to 5:30, starting the first meeting in June. So we would do it at 5:30.
Right, okay. It doesn't appear that there's any real objections here.
Okay.
We don't mind moving it, the understanding that that's what we concluded that night.
All right, so how about I propose this resolution? This would be the last resolution as an add-on, R051934, be resolved by the Brunswick City Council Resolution R041920 as amended by Resolution R041960, be amended to read as follows, whereas written charges have been filed against liquor license number 1214-33-047-005, held by Pursuit Inc., trading as Meteor Bar, 14 Jersey Avenue, New Brunswick, for alleged violations of NJSA 33:1-31 at sec and NJAC 13:1-1 at sec. And whereas a hearing is required on said charges, and whereas the licensee is entitled to notice of such hearing, and whereas the hearing commenced on, put today's date, May 1st, 2019, and a continuance is so required. Now therefore be resolved by the City Council of the City of New Brunswick that Wednesday, June 5th at 5:30 p.m. at City Council Chamber, City Hall, New Brunswick is fixed as the time and place for hearing or continuation of hearing on said charges. Further resolved, certified copies, resolution be forwarded to.
Once again, do it after the public comment.
We'll do it after public comment. Is there a motion in favor of that resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. I'm taking your job, Madam Clerk. I'm sorry.
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Excuse me.
Councilmember
We have to
Fleming.
have the resolution, public comment, right?
I don't know if anybody wants to comment on this resolution adjourning the date. Any members?
Anybody
No,
else
I
in the
see
public
that.
who should comment on the resolution? Seeing none, okay. Please continue.
Councilmember Fleming. Council Vice President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President
Oh, I
Anderson.
said yes. Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay, so we will conclude it at the June 5th meeting after our regular meeting, after the public comments. Okay, anything else?
I have no further business with respect to the license matter. Council's done.
Motion to adjourn,
Mr. Chairman.
Second.
You guys sure?
Councilmember Egan.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming.
Yes.
Council Vice President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes.
Council President Anderson.
Yes.